Welcome to What You Came Here to Create, the podcast to support driven, ambitious women who know that they're capable of more. I'm your host, Beck Sands. I am an author, a PR consultant, I'm a visibility mentor, I'm a certified coach, and I've also been in business for over 7 years. So together we are going to discover the mindset, the courage, the visibility, and the self-trust to support you to bring to life the business or the creative project on your own terms. But most importantly, this is a really safe space that you can come back to feel more grounded, because this work can feel so deeply dysregulating, but it doesn't have to. So let's take a deep breath and together, let's trust ourselves and get ready to do the work that we came here to create. Hello and welcome to the new and improved podcast. So for those of you who've been following me, you will know that the podcast used to be called Confidently Visible, and it is now called What You Came Here to Create. I am so excited to be launching this book into the world, and it is just such a delight to be here with you, sharing on this topic and supporting you with this journey as well. So as I've been sharing, this work is really to support you to have a safe space and to feel more grounded while you're doing this incredibly dysregulating work of putting yourself out there, putting your work out into the world, being more visible, being seen for who you are, for your services, for your thoughts and ideas, and for your unique personality. It can feel really challenging and it can put you into a bit of a state of anxiety. Now, for those of you who've just tuning in, you don't know my story, I have medical PTSD and anxiety, and it all came about from some medical stuff that I had, which is all resolved now, but over a period of about 5 years, we were doing an IVF journey. I had some women's health issues. I had a lot of visits to emergency, some pretty life-threatening situations, and then every month things would come up that would put me back into that spiraling state. And I was pretty much in anxiety for months at a time. So I was having panic attacks going into the medical situations, but I was doing IVF, so I was in medical situations every day. And this experience really had a profound effect on me. I had never experienced anxiety before this, or at least not to that level. I was always able to bring myself down. And in this instance, I just wasn't able to. So it was very foreign, it was very scary, and I had a lot of ECGs done. And I'm fine. And I've since resolved all the issues. The IVF didn't work out to how we wanted, but I'm happy. I am in perfect health. And I'm here doing the work that I came here to create. So this is where I'm at. My work is infused with my experiences, and I hope that this supports you no matter what you've gone through in life. If you've had traumas, if you've had anxiety like me, which we all experience things in life, right? Like life happens to everyone, and we're just trying to do the best that we can. So I'm here to support you on this journey of putting your work out there to change your life for the better, because it will. And it's also a really healing journey to put your work out there and to face fears around visibility and putting your work out there and refining that over time. So I didn't just wake up one day and automatically was able to do video like this. I was absolutely the opposite of that. I was really bumbling, shaky, and I was terrified of speaking up, even in meetings back when I was in corporate. And it's only over a number of years of consistently showing up and being visible that I've been able to refine my skills in this area and actually feel joy connecting with my audience, connecting on podcasts, being able to speak to camera, being able to speak off the cuff, being able to present and really connect with my audience and come from a place of generosity rather than self-consciousness. Okay. So This journey is really about letting go of perfectionism because you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to look perfect, sound perfect, have perfect work, know everything. It's just never going to happen. And so we need to start with where we're at. And one of my favorite affirmations actually is I have what I need to succeed. I have everything I need to succeed. And you can change that to whatever resonates for you, but like I have all the time, knowledge, resources I need to succeed. And that was a big affirmation for me when I started my business because I really felt, and I had stories around this, that I didn't have the right background. You know, I grew up with a single mum. We struggled financially. I was one of three and, you know, it was a challenge and I just didn't feel, I felt like people that went to private schools or like had lots of money, those were the people that would be successful. So I didn't feel like I had the right background. I felt like, you know, I was too nice for my career. And I felt like, you know, the person that was trying to people please and be a bit walked over by other people who are a little bit more cutthroat than I was. And honestly, that environment just wasn't for me anyway. So since stepping into my business in 2019, I have been able to literally do the work that I came here to create. And so that's where I'm going to be supporting you. And today I would love to share with you a little bit about deciding what you came here to create, because that is often the most challenging part. So this work can feel really, really challenging, but it all starts with a decision. It starts with deciding what it is that you actually want to create. And I think this can feel really challenging to do in and of itself because we've got all these limiting beliefs, right? And preconceived ideas of what we can do and what's acceptable in society and what other people do and we other people that have done the thing before us and we other people who have created success and we go, we're not like them. You know, they've got something I don't have, or they've got the right background, or they've got more resources, more time, energy, money, whatever. And yes, unfortunately, the world isn't an equal place and we all do have different levels of resources and access to different people and, you know, we've got different challenges, right? But that's not to say that you're behind if you haven't had access to those amazing things at a young age. You know, in fact, for myself and for a lot of people I know, having a really challenging upbringing and having a lack of resources has actually supported them on their journey of success because it gives them that hustle factor. It gives them the grit and determination and tenacity to be able to stick things out when other people would give up. And quite honestly, those are the factors that will really support you with success. And so this is what I'm here to kind of support you with throughout this podcast, but also to support you in becoming more grounded. Like I said, this work is super dysregulating and it can bring up all of your stuff. It'll bring up all your, you know, all of those limiting beliefs, all of those mechanisms that you use to cope. And it brings it up to heal it. So I believe that this visibility journey is really a healing journey and that it is probably the most important one that you will go on in your life. And it's such a rewarding journey as well. All right, so let's get into this idea of deciding what you wanted to create. And just before we actually dive in, I wanted to share as well that this is all my work. So I do use AI. Like, I know it's crazy that in this world, we've got to kind of actually disclaim that this is our work. It's like, disclaimer, this is my work, but it is my work. Okay. And I use AI to do things like show notes and to summarize things and to research things and that kind of thing. So I do use ChatGPT and all those kinds of tools. But all my work is my own creative work, right? I come up with the concepts and ideas and I just use AI as a tool to like support my work. So all of this is not just like AI generated crap, but just so you know, before we go into this any further. So I just really wanted to share that with you. This is from my heart to yours. And this work is so dear to my heart and it's so deeply important to me because I think that particularly as women, we haven't had the opportunities to be able to put ourselves out there as much in a safe space. Like, I think we're judged a lot more for how we look, and we also judge ourselves a lot more for how we look than perhaps men. And I'm like here for men too. You know, I'm full equality. I love men and women the same. But I think coming from a background and perspective that I am a woman, I realize like some of the limitations that we can have, particularly I think growing up with a single mom and just seeing how challenging that was. You know, I really would love a little bit more equality, and I would love a little bit less focus on women's looks, really, because quite frankly, it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter. But I think women, particularly when being visible and like putting themselves out there, we can really be judged for how we look, and then we can have more of a fear around putting ourselves out there because of the fact that we're being judged so harshly for how we look. And we see this play out in the media with celebrities, with high profile women, and it's not nice. It's not a nice thing. So what I kind of teach is that, you know, you've got to kind of detach from that to a certain extent and understand that people, you know, that some people will love your work. Some people will just be like, meh. And then some people will actively dislike it and might criticize. And you're here for the people really that love your work, right? And for the people that you can really support. And so that's where I come from. Obviously, block and delete anyone who's giving you grief. But for most of us, I think, and for me, in my business and in my life, I'm not looking to be a celebrity. Like, I don't want to be, I barely want to put myself out there, you know, at all in front of my clients. But it's like, I know that we have to, and I know that this can be of service, and we want to grow businesses, we want to grow careers, we want to put our work out there, we want to get paid for our services, what we're worth. And so we do need to be seen, right, for our work. But we don't need to be seen by every single person in the world, okay? We don't have to have millions of followers. We just need to be seen in front of our ideal clients, in our little micro communities of the people that we can support in order to be able to grow those thriving businesses. So, okay, I go on a tangent. You'll probably notice this throughout this podcast, but I'm just wanting to really just like share with you and connect with you and just share what's really in my mind to support you. So let's get into this, deciding what you wanted to create. So maybe it is a business. Maybe it's a book. Maybe it's a career change. Maybe it's a creative project that you've been thinking about for years. And often we're driven to these changes. Like something happens. It's the old feather, the brick, and the truck metaphor, which I never know who came up with this originally, but it's a really good one just to give you an indication of like where you're kind of at in terms of the decision-making process. So the whole concept is that if you do, like the universe is nudging you towards a decision and it'll give you a feather. So maybe the feather is just, you know, someone having a conversation or you coming up with an idea and having to think about it and just feeling that urge. Maybe that's the feather. And then if you ignore the feather, then the brick comes, and maybe the brick is like, you know, like someone, like your manager leaving and your team is all changed or something like that in your life. And then if you ignore the brick, then it's the truck, right? So the truck will come along and just blow everything up. And maybe it's like a huge health crisis like I had. Maybe it's like being made redundant from your job. Maybe it's like a relationship breakdown or just something in life that is like you ignored the feather. Not saying that it's your fault if anything happens, but these are just, you know, the universe doesn't like to be stagnant, and our lives shouldn't be stagnant. So things do change and evolve, and nothing stays the same forever, which can feel terrifying, but it's actually a beautiful thing. Because can you imagine if you knew everything and how everything was going to play out and everything that you were going to achieve and exactly how it was all going to be in life? That would be so boring. And also it would kind of be like, oh, what else is there to think about or like do, you know, like we'd kind of lose a bit of hope, I think, with that, because we'd know how everything was going to play out. So it's actually so much more beautiful that we don't know these things, right? And so, tangent again, but this is where I want to, I kind of just want to encourage you to explore what it is that you want to do. Right? So this is a safe space. So let's just explore what it is that you want to do. And don't even worry about how or the logistics, because you're not going to know that until you actually start to take the steps, right? So if you're kind of like, I'm not going to do anything until I know exactly every single step that's going to happen and I know exactly how it's all going to look and exactly how it's going to play out, you'll be waiting forever. Or you'll be waiting for that truck, right? So you want to start to take the action. And as you start to take the action, then the next step will appear on your journey. Before we get back to today's episode, I'm so excited to let you know that my new book, What You Came Here to Create, is now available for pre-order. If you have ever felt called to create something meaningful, like a business, a book, a career change, a creative project, but you found yourself held back by things like fear, self-doubt, and perfectionism, then this book is for you. And if you pre-order before the 15th of September 2026, then you will get access to my Visible Unicorn Challenge as a special gift, where I will support you and guide you through the mindset, the self-trust, and the visibility practices to support you to put your work out into the world with confidence and feeling more grounded than ever. So pre-order now via the link in the show notes and at cameheretocreate.com. I want to share a little bit about my story in deciding to go into my business. So this is just to give you a little bit of an idea of like the feather, the brick in the truck, right? So when I was about 5 years into my career, I really was challenged because I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I was doing PR and I was in agency world and I really found it quite cutthroat and I was really not loving, like it's a lot of media pitching, media call downs. It's basically like, it can feel like a bit of a sales role in terms of like just a bit soul destroying. Quite honestly. And there's some really, really good elements of it, like, you know, going to events and working for high profile clients and that kind of thing. But it was quite long hours. It felt a bit challenging. And I thought that I was too nice for it, like for the industry, right? And so I was like, okay, I felt a bit burnt out 5 years into my career. And then so I decided to make a change. So I quit my job. And I was like, I'm going to start a lifestyle blog. So I did that and it was called Daily Inspiration Board. I had it for about 2 years. But then I was like, okay, I do need to get a job. So this very lovely headhunter named Caroline at the time, I remember she called me and she said, there's a job in-house in a property company. It's probably not as like exciting that you're used to, like I was used to working on like fabulous consumer brands. And we had clients like Google and Westfield and Toyota. So going into like an in-house role in a commercial property company felt like, oh, that's a big change of pace. But she was like, it's a really good job. Like it's a really nice industry. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a go then. It's not what I thought, but you know, it's here. I'll give it a go. And I did give it a go and I absolutely loved it. It was so much more interesting than I had anticipated. There were so many cool people. And also it was just kind of healing for me to be in that environment with other cool, nice people after the chaos and, you know, tumultuousness, if that's a word, of being in agency life in PR. So that started my in-house journey. As I started doing that, I then started to I never lost that real desire to do something different with my life. I kind of was like, oh, I kept in the back of my mind that PR wasn't necessarily it for me forever, at least in the format that it was. And so I started to follow the breadcrumbs of like, okay, I'm going to study life coaching. I'm going to do Marie Forleo's B School. I let go of the blog at that stage, even though I had some cool freebies like a day at a day spa. And yeah, so I just kind of started to follow the breadcrumbs without knowing how it was going to play out. I had no idea. I definitely didn't, at that time, I really didn't want to start my own business because I was like, that seems even more stressful than a career. And I was like, I kind of want to avoid stress. I really wanted to take the easy path, even though I was super ambitious. But I was also like, I had a challenging upbringing. I was like completely dysregulated from a young age. I was like, I'm ready for some calm. I'm ready for some, like just for life to be a little bit more chill. But I still wanted to create the financial freedom. I wanted to fulfill my purpose. I wanted to do all these things. And I just thought, well, I don't know if a business is it. So that's where I kind of started on that journey of what I came here to create and the business journey that I then went on. So what really pushed me then, I took another role. I was headhunted to become the head of PR at another company. And then I did that for around 4 years and it was really cool and I enjoyed it. But then there was some changes on the team. And I thought it was a good time to, I'd been coaching women on the side for years. I'd built up in my mind. I was like, okay, well, I could do this eventually. The right time never quite arrived. But then it sort of did. And I was like, okay, this is the time now. Now I need to make it work. And as I stepped out of corporate, I went straight full-time into my own business. I had a couple of clients, but nothing to replace my income at that point. And it was terrifying, to be honest. And I ended up making it work. So I was kind of like, well, I could always go back to corporate if it doesn't work. But it did work. So it was slow going, particularly because in year 2, COVID hit. And that was really, really challenging. Like I was doing consulting work. My husband was doing consulting work. We were living in Sydney's Neutral Bay. And it was really like we lost like 90% of our consulting revenue overnight because my husband was doing like travel. Like he'd worked at Tourism Australia as the global head of content and he was doing consulting in the travel space. And I was working primarily for an agency that had clients in the travel and lifestyle and events space as well. And so all of that obviously shut down. So we were both in a bit of a shit place, to be honest. But it did come back. We rallied. We found new clients. We lost a shit ton of money, unfortunately, but of earnings at that time. But, we made it work. We made it through. And then we had some other challenges then. So my husband's father, that's what I'm trying to say. My husband's father, we found out he had brain cancer. And it was actually kidney cancer, but then it would metastasize into the brain. Anyway, so there was like a year and a half where my husband was the main supporter, the main carer. It was during COVID. Then I had all this stuff. I had fibroids, which were causing like really, really major problems for me. I had major surgery. Then I had complications. Then I was in and out of emergency at the same time as Andre's father. So yeah, we had a really rough few years. Those were like our first years of marriage as well. So that was challenging. But at the same time, I just continued to show up. I continued to put work out there. I continued to do what I could, even within the situation. And it was tough. So then we decided to, after like COVID kind of came and went, and then we decided to move to Newcastle because we were like, we both work from home, most of the time. This is a good opportunity for us to do this. And we could live in a house and like have more of a beach lifestyle and not have to sit in traffic all the time, this kind of thing. And some friends of ours had moved up here as well. So we moved up to Newcastle. But then at the same time, we started the IVF journey. And yeah, it was just like lots of emergency. That's when my anxiety went through the roof. So that's when I had the medical PTSD come up. And it was really challenging, and it kind of seeped into my visibility and my business, right? Because obviously nothing exists in isolation, but my work actually really supported me through this time. So often if I was feeling anxious, I'd go and write a media release or go and write some content and that could really support me in the moment. And so it was just really about navigating that, but my business supported me to navigate that. So it was great. So how does this support you in choosing what you want to do? Well, look, nothing's going to be perfect, and you can't see what's going to happen before you take the action or before you do the thing. But for me, I just followed the breadcrumbs, not knowing exactly what I wanted, but tried different things, and that's how I figured it out. And then also, as the challenges came up, I learned from it, I grew, and now I'm in an amazing position in my business. And having been able to do the work that I came here to create and feeling so fulfilled and connected in with that. And so it's taken years and various iterations of my business, and nothing is linear. So things change, of course, in our careers, in our businesses, in our lives. And so we've kind of just got to be able to develop that resilience to not know what's coming and be okay with that. And I think that's one of the most challenging things to cultivate. But if you can establish a baseline of being grounded in your life, then you can kind of take that into the work that you do and know that no matter what challenges come up, that you're going to be okay. So I encourage you right now just to really start to have a think, blue sky thinking about what it is that you came here to create. What is the thing that has been in your heart to do? And to really forget about how it's going to actually come into reality, and instead to just, get out your journal and write down what those things look like for you. So no one is going to do this for you. No one's going to tap you on the shoulder and go, hey, why don't you do this thing? Or I think you'd be great at this. Here's a map on how to get there. I know we kind of really want that. We kind of crave that guidance and that direction, and for someone to tap us on the shoulder and say, here's exactly how you can do it, or to give us permission to do it, to do the thing. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen like that. You have to be the one to decide. And you don't have to be 100% right with a decision before you make it. You can start things on the side first. You don't need to leave your job immediately. You don't need to, do things before you're ready. You can build up to them. You can start things on the side. You can start to create. If you've got a business and you're not loving it right now, you can start to create something else and start to envision what that would look like on the side of your current business, right? So this work never ends. There's always going to be a new iteration of you, of your work, of everything. And so it's all about just allowing yourself to have that blue sky thinking, and at the same time building up those grounding tools to know that you're going to be okay the whole way through. All right, so I feel like how long have we been going? 26 minutes. Okay, I feel like I've kind of shared a fair bit with you today. So over the course of this podcast and these next episodes, I will be sharing with you more grounding tools, but more behind the scenes, as well as resources that will support you to bring to life what it is that you came here to create. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy that you listened to the kickoff episode, and please DM me and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of What You Came Here to Create. If something in this episode resonated with you, I would love it if you would share it with a friend or share it on social media, and make sure that you tag me so that we can get this into the ears of more women who may need to hear this message. And before you go, just remember this: you don't need to have everything figured out before you begin. As you take the action, the clarity will come to you. So trust yourself and take the next step, and keep an eye out for the next episode of What You Came Here to Create.